prayer today is that the Lord give you peace that is unshakable. Yes, my prayer today is that He fills you with a passion for righteousness. Lord, my prayer today is that Jesus will guide you through every storm. Yes, every storm. Lord, every storm. This is my prayer today.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out, righteousness. Welcome, everybody, to the Trust in the Lord Hour. I'm going to say something about that in just a moment. The best hour. Well, hold on. Okay. It's a great morning, right? It's a great afternoon. Trust in the Lord. I'm going to, we've been doing this now for 16 years. By the way, today is day 29 of Proverbs chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. And make sure you stay tuned for the entire broadcast all the way up to the tippy top of the hour, because Brother Holnaker is going to drop in a new tune. You're going to be surprised at what you're going to see in here today with Brother Holnaker. So hang tight, all right? So I'm going to, we have been doing this for 15, 16 years, the Trust in the Lord Hour, and I'm now going to identify it as the best hour on planet Earth. The Trust in the Lord Hour, and then, of course, after that would be the best hour on planet Earth. I'm going to have Sabbath and her team get together and work on a new promotion for that, because the Trust in the Lord Hour is the best hour on planet Earth with respect to teaching of the Word of God. There's no better hour. There's no better teaching. That's just how that is. I'm sorry if anybody's offended, but that's just how that is. So we're working on some new things and some new promotions as we're growing and increasing. And one of the things that we've asked people to do is to increase their lives and increase their productivity by at least 20%. Now, that's a tall order, and it's going to take a lot to get 20% beyond where you are right now, but you can do it. All right, so the Trust in the Lord Hour and the Solomon Space is the best hour on planet Earth. All right, Proverbs chapter 3. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, lean not to thine own understanding, verse 5. And verse 6, in all thy ways acknowledge him. That's what it says. And he shall direct your paths. It's sort of, and I don't want to minimize or anyway carnalize. Thank you, Miss Angel. Leave that right there. I don't want to minimize the power of the scripture or commonalize it, if that's a word. But in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. So today we're going to give this particular lesson titled Acknowledging Him. And it's our intent over the next 11 days to try to complete all of the remaining 4 verses of Proverbs chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. And I pray that this experience has been a great experience for him, for you rather, and for him. In all thy ways acknowledge him. And we can argue whether that should be capital or whether it should be non-capital. I would argue that it's good to go. And if you acknowledge him, the trade-off here is he shall direct your paths. Now, you know I've been telling you need a good counselor. You really, really do. You need a good guide. But in acknowledging Almighty God in everything you do, he will direct your paths. Now, we're going to try to exegete this. That's a fancy Greek word for saying we're going to look at this verse every which kind of way and try to find all of the truth that's in it. But I like that idea, the new theme, as I'm increasing my productivity now to 20% beyond where I was last year this time. So trust in the Lord, the trust in the Lord hour is now labeled as the best hour on planet Earth. I like that. I do. Even if I have to pat myself on the back for saying it and doing it. And then we're gonna work it all out, theme it all up, and just make it, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. But, you need a good counselor. Please listen to me. Mistakes are very expensive and very costly. And some of the mistakes that one can make because you don't have a good counsel. And I'm coming back to acknowledging him. We're going to talk about that. We're going to exegete that. But mistakes can be very costly, very expensive, and some are deadly. So you need a good counselor. You do. And you need to understand that you just can't take the counsel of anybody. You need a great counselor, not a good one. You need a great one. And I debated over whether using the title good counselor or great counselor. You need a great counselor. You just can't take the counsel of just any person. And you can't take the counsel of someone that, does not have the experience of what you're talking about. Mistakes can cost you a whole lot of life, of money. I put it this way, the mistakes that you can make ranging from mistakes regarding your health, losing your wealth, and losing your happiness. Mistakes are very costly. You have to understand that you should not go through the world without a good counselor. Now I'm going to tell you how to acknowledge the Lord in just a moment, but the Lord's put it on my heart to talk to you today because, and you would think that, well, you kind of navigate, you're staying in the same lane all the time, so you're not going to make any mistakes. But the problem is that you are going to make mistakes because you may not change, but circumstances change, and you're going to have to adapt to them. And many of the mistakes that you make, not only can it cost you your health, it can cost you your wealth, that which you have. It can cost you your happiness, your eternal happiness and joy. You could be sad for the rest of your life and poor for the rest of your life or sick for the rest of your life based on a bad decision. On the other hand, you could be healthy for the rest of your life. You could be wealthy for the rest of your life if you follow the vein and the spirit of truth and righteousness with a good counselor, a great counselor. Let me keep reminding myself. The other thing is, it isn't just you. You say, well, I can deal with it, I can handle it. The mistakes that you make could very well resonate on your children to the third and the fourth generation. We're talking approximately 120, 140 years after you've made that mistake. You need a great counselor. You can sit there and say you don't. You can fool around with people who don't know how to counsel you and rely upon them and hurt your children to the third and fourth generation. So I thought I'd say that to you. Now, let's get back to verse 6. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. So it sounds like a trade-off there. If you'll do this, I'll do that. If you'll acknowledge him, he'll do this. All right. If you'll acknowledge the Lord, he'll direct your paths, which is pretty good. I want to say, and clearly after praying about this whole matter here, this segment is for recruits and witnesses. By that I mean, this is not for the average person. And I would think that anybody that listens to me and also has made the commitment to join this ministry and support it, you're not average. This, what I do, Pastor Manning and the Yacht Church and ministry, it isn't for the average person. This is way up there in terms of spirituality, understanding, growth, and anointing. But this particular verse is for those who are being recruited by the Lord. If you acknowledge him, he shall direct your paths. And it's for those who also are going to be witness for the Lord. And I would put it in this category, I'll put it down where you can probably understand it better. If I say, this is a verse designed more for prophets and martyrs and servants. Now, anybody you can take this verse in a minor way, acknowledge the Lord, and he'll direct your paths. But a prophet or a martyr or a servant at that high level of serving the Lord, and especially if you're being recruited right now, you need to acknowledge him in everything you do, even if you're doing wrong. I'll say that again. You need to acknowledge the Lord, and if this type of a verse now can certainly be applied to you, but it is for the high level of calling for prophets, for martyrs. That's people who are going to actually give up their lives, and they're physical martyrs, and then they're spiritual martyrs. That is to say, and I would go ahead and say, now if you let me teach you, which I'm sure you're going to do. There's a physical martyr. That is where you lose your life. You give your life for the cause of Christ. That's physical. And it's a high level. And then there is the spiritual martyr, where you give up the comforts of, I suppose, being soothed by the comforts and the creature comforts of Satan's kingdom. You give all that up. You give all that up. For instance, when Isaiah, in Isaiah chapter 20, verse 1 through 6, was told to take off all his clothes and walk naked in the streets of Jerusalem for 3 years. That's a martyr. He gave up spiritually, he gave up the creature comforts, but also gave up a sense of, everybody gonna know Isaiah's the naked prophet. And he did it. And then, of course, there is the, I suppose, potentially a financial martyr where you just give up everything for the cause of Christ. We'll get back to that. But if you're going to be called into high service for the Lord, and I would say that, most people that are members of the Outlaw World Missionary Church, including the children, are at the level of a prophet or a prophet's child, or martyr, or one who is a servant. I mean, our church is filled with people who are not just regular run-of-the-mill, Sunday go-to-meeting church people. Most people in our congregation are at the level of prophets. Now, when we talk about prophets, Obadiah had over 50 prophets, or 100 prophets, which is a 50 or 100 prophet in the book of Kings. And, but they weren't prophesying. They were not, but that was their potential. God could call either one in them out at any time. The Outlaw Church is a church full of prophets, and which explains the reason why we have a lot of ministers and a lot of music in our church. The members. And by the way, don't let that be a deterrent to you. Say, well, okay, I was thinking about joining your church, Pastor Manny, but you're talking about everybody. Well, if you're thinking about joining and if it's in your heart, then God's called you into a high level of prophecy. Even the young children in our church, I don't discount them as just children. Somebody say, well, we got to have a children's church. Send them down into the basement and let them have a children's church. No, let the children sit with the old folk. And let everybody, when the word of God goes forth, let everybody get it. Who knows what level of power? The Bible says Jesus was sitting in the temple at 12 years of age, talking with the elders and the scribes and the priests, and they were amazed at his wisdom. So no, I say, we all going to do this thing here together. But the members of our congregation for the most part, are at the level of servant. We don't have just regular, we have had from time to time a couple of regular, Sunday go to meeting church. They don't want to get involved in all the work and get involved and get down in the ground, get down in the nitty gritty. But they were, like a little bit of what I was teaching, so they'd come in, run in, but they didn't really want to get too close. But no, everybody here is a servant or a prophet in the outlaw church. Everybody's either a servant or a servant and a prophet, and some are martyrs. They don't like that martyr thing too good. But you need to understand that what this verse says is that if you will acknowledge him, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I've called this acknowledging. What do you mean by acknowledging him? Well, first of all, you don't do anything without checking it out with the word. You don't do nothing. There's a lighter and a broader universal use of this business of acknowledging him. People, before they eat, they always say a prayer, Lord, bless my food, bless my fork, bless the hands that cooked it. You heard that? Bless the ones that cooked it, anyway. So that's a way of acknowledging him before you eat, right? Well, what Solomon, out of Solomon's space, is saying here in Proverbs chapter 3 is that before you do anything, acknowledge him. Before you do anything, acknowledge him. And the trade-off is then he will let you do nothing without him telling you. Leave it at that, Mr. That's a beautiful verse. Leave it right there. Don't move it. What Solomon is saying is that before you do anything, I don't care what it is, check it out with the word. Check it out with the word. Check it out with him. Check it out, run it past him before you do anything. We'll say, Pastor Manny, what about if I'm going to take some cough syrup? Check it out with the Lord. You said, doggone, Pastor Manny. I do a whole lot of things during the course of the day. I say, check it out with the Lord. Don't give me no lip. Because here's what will happen. If you check everything out with him, he'll make sure everything checks out with you. You don't check everything out with him, he won't make sure everything checks out with you. Check it out with him, and he shall direct your paths. Acknowledge him. Acknowledge him. So this morning I was praying. I said, well, now, Lord, what about this? What about this, Lord? What about if you're getting ready to sin? Some of y'all, you do sin. You know that, right? I get ticked off with people, Anyway, so you do sin, right? So Lord, you got to say, well, Lord, I'm getting ready to kill him, but I'm gonna run it past you. I'm not trying to be funny or cute or disingenuous. Lord, before I kill him, I'm gonna run it past you. What do you think? And your anger will subside, or it should. Or God may say, kill him. You see, that's the kind of God I'm talking about. I want to smoke him. I want to smoke him. God says smoke him. The other day we were down there at Smith and Walensky. This little guy came out. Y'all remember the little manager came out, little short guy, right? Manager. He come running up to him. You want to get everything straight? So after I figured out talking to him, he said, well, you don't have, I said, well, tell me what I got wrong, right? Tell me what I got wrong. Well, who's your creative person? So finally I got tired of talking to him, right? So I walked away. I walked up to the corner. Did he follow me up there? Where in the Bible does it say it calls people to lose their jobs? I said, listen, man, in the Bible, it says kill people. Then I showed him the verse where it says that in Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13, where it says that if man lieth with mankind as with woman, it is an abomination and they both shall be put to death. He looked at it. And then he walked away. But the Lord said, smoke him. I probably need to pray right through here. Let's try to get back on the good foot here now, okay? So even if you're angry with some people, run it past the Lord. Run it. If you're angry with people, then I'm not saying that you're above getting angry. We all do. But run it past the Lord, and he'll show you what to do. If you acknowledge him, he'll direct your paths. Now, listen, I got to take a bit of a break right here. But don't go anywhere. We're going to be introducing next week. We're going to be introducing trust in the Lord with all thine heart. The trust in the Lord hour, is the best hour on planet Earth. I'm going to increase. I'm leaving where I was last year. I'm going to increase my productivity, my creativity. I'm going to increase my effectiveness by at least 20%. Are you going to walk with me? And by the way, you know, the Lord has opened up Solomon's space for us. So this is a great, and those of you who are reading Proverbs chapter 3 with me, or with us, it's a good thing. And God's going to show you how to increase as well, and you're going to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. And you possibly can get recruited to serve the Lord. You know, there are a lot of people that the Lord just look at them, but he never thought about using them for anything. But I would think that the level at which I teach, and anybody who's, you know, adhering to it, or at the level of a recruit or somebody that God can use as a prophet, or at the very least as a servant, and perhaps as a martyr. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Remember, Brother Holnick is going to drop a tune later on today. I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out, righteousness. Well, if you have funds to give Christmas gifts, go to the Bethelite Marketplace and do some shopping there at the Bethelite Marketplace and give people gifts from that very, very exclusive website that we have, where you can give people some really, really classy antiques and gifts and stuff that just have a lot of meaning to it, rather than buying somebody a sweater or a pair of socks, you know, or an umbrella, or giving them a whatever it is, you know, give them one of these very special gifts we have at the Bethelite Marketplace, right? And the other thing is that we have a lot of china, a lot of tea sets, and a lot of beautiful pewter and bowls and glasses, and just a lot of beautiful stuff, antiques. And you should buy something just to decorate. Look at those spoons and those pewters. You know, you could buy that collection of pewter cups, you know, or that coffee place, or those spoons, and for Thanksgiving. And really bring the people over, rather than drinking out those glasses you've been drinking out. Oh, those mayonnaise jars. Y'all don't know what I'm talking. People don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but imagine setting your Thanksgiving table with those beautiful pewter and that beautiful silverware there, right? And it'll just be a beautiful thing. Well, oh, this is really nice. And we have beautiful platters and a lot of beautiful decorative bowls. Go to the Bethelite Marketplace. Go to the Bethelite Marketplace for your shopping, for Thanksgiving, for your dinner table, and for Christmas. Do that. And not only will you be a blessing by giving somebody something that's really meaningful, that will be around for a while. You give somebody a sweater, a pair of socks, they wear it once, and they'll take it back to the store and change it and get the money, and you won't even know that's what they did. But this is something that can be in family heirloom. You follow? Don't discount the Bethelite Marketplace. Go ahead now and do some shopping there, and have a beautiful Thanksgiving. Do some shopping, and now some of those stuff has already been sold, but you'll find out, and you'll have give somebody a beautiful gift, some beautiful jewelry. By the way, look for those women who are on our mailing list outside of New York City and New Jersey. You're going to get, in about a week or so, 2 weeks, you're going to get a beautiful necklace called the Mercy and Truth necklace. But my friends, use the Bethelite Marketplace. That beautiful pewter set of cups will be a great place. You put a little wine in it, put some, iced tea or something in it, you know. Oh, I say you don't drink wine. Okay, all right, okay. Well, Jesus did. Anyway, so this is just some beautiful stuff to make your Thanksgiving dinner. And surely do your Christmas shopping. you'll catch two birds with one net. One is that you'll have a priceless gift that will last for hundreds of years, and you'll also help us fight the foreclosure that is beaming down on us every day as they're trying to take our building. Look at all that beautiful jewelry. That is some really beautiful stuff, really beautiful stones and some great artwork to that. Use the Bethelite Marketplace. Go to our website, click into the Bethelite Marketplace, and you'll be there. All right.
Hi, come in. Since the pandemic, I haven't had any house guests, so I decided to invite a couple of friends over. And guess what? They love the way I've redecorated. What's my secret? Bethelite Marketplace. They have wonderful items such as wall decor and fine china. So if you want to be the talk of the town, go to Bethelite Marketplace. And hurry. Come to Bethelite Marketplace, the one-stop shopping dream.
All right, my friends, the Trust in the Lord hour is the best hour on planet Earth. We're going to work on that. That's one of my offerings as I am proposing to increase my strength, my growth, my effectiveness by at least 20% of what I was this time last year. And I'm giving God the glory. It means that I'll probably increase my prayer life, become more intense. We may do more than one worship, maybe once or twice a month now at the Outlaw World Missionary Church, to increase our ability both at fellowship and also at learning. But chapter 3 of Proverbs, verse 6, and all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. And I have prayed about this verse and looking at it and getting all the strength out of it. This is more of a verse, while it is for every and anybody, that you ought to, before you make any decision, before you do anything, you ought to run it past the Lord. Acknowledge him. And if you do that, he'll never let you do something without directing you. If you give God the authority over your life, he will direct your paths. Maybe that's the best way to title this. Give God, rather than, in all your ways acknowledge him is a great statement, no doubt about it. But we can put it down where everybody can get it by saying, give God complete authority over your life, and he will always give you his best direction. I think that's one way of looking at it. But also the other thing is that in this verse is that while it is for everybody, there's no doubt about it, because everybody needs to run it past the Lord. This is a higher calling verse. This is a verse for prophets, martyrs, and servants. This is a higher calling verse, while it is for everybody. But the strength and the meat of this verse is for those that are servants or martyrs or prophets. And one of the things I was concerned, as I stated on yesterday, about the 5-hour funeral that I witnessed online, and I wasn't there to put anybody down. It was not my intent in any way to be mean-spirited or to put anybody down, but I was frightened by what I saw, because if the Lord left me, I would have nothing. You could give me $1 billion, $1 trillion, but if I don't have the Lord, if I don't have this feeling that I have, if I don't have him walking with me the way he walks with me and talks with me, and he's always with me, I can't do anything really without acknowledging the Lord. Even if I'm going to sin, God's going to be right there and watch me do it. Now, he could leave me afterwards. But even if I sin, God's right there. And so I've gone ahead and made a commitment, so I don't have to ever just run this past God, run that. I've gone ahead and I have sold out. Now, this is not about me, but I've gone ahead and sold out. And everything I do and everything I am, it's the Lord. It's his word. But I do want to say this, that what I discovered is that the Outlaw Church is a church of prophets. That's right. It's a church of martyrs. We have to give up a lot. We have to give up a lot to be in this house. It's a church of martyrs. It's a church of servants. It's a church of prophets, the Outlaw Church. And now, I don't mean to scare anybody off who was thinking about, well, I'm going to go ahead and line myself up with that. Pastor Manning, I'll tell you, I'm going to just go ahead and break down, and I'm going to get out that Church of God in Christ I've been fooling around, that Catholic church I've been fooling around with, the Methodists, and I'm going to come on over there. But now you say it's a church of prophets. Pastor Manning, I'm not a prophet. How do you know? Who told you were not? Are you a servant? That ought to be pretty easy to describe. But that's what this verse is all about. This is a verse for recruiting those to be witness. Now, if you acknowledge God, by that I mean you acknowledge his word, then he will fully develop you. And that's, the older you get, the better you get. The devil has lied, as he always does. And he's put it out in the media. He's put it out in books. Every place except, David writes, God gives us 70 years and 10, yet there is strength, labor, and sorrow. The devil has put it out in his kingdom that the older you get, the worse you get. That's not true. Just the opposite is true. The older you get, the better you get. The older you get, the better you get. I debated about, the older you get, you ought to get stronger. No, I'm not talking about physical strength. You forget about that. That don't mean nothing. But you ought to get stronger. Every day you ought to get stronger spiritually. I tell people all the time, never pick a fight with an old man. See, a young boy, he like to dance around and think he's Muhammad Ali, dancing here and there, and Hurricane, all these guys that, fast on their feet. Old man, he ain't gonna do that. He gonna kill you. He gonna hit you so hard, he gonna kill you the first shot. Don't pick a fight with an old man. Just don't do it. See, young boys like to be cute. But the older you get, according to God's design, the better you get. Now, you have to remember, now please listen to this. You have to remember that God created us to live forever. So the closer, every day you get closer to forever living, now some of y'all might not make it forever, but you have to remember spiritually, every day you're getting closer and closer to forever. And God, or eternal life, and God designed us for that. So God didn't design you to die. He cursed you to die. And there's a difference. Ella Ramos, are you out there? Ella Ramos, are you out there? Ella Ramos, God did not design you to die. When you were designed to live eternally. However, he cursed you, and that's why you die. But you don't die because God said, I'm going to make man, he's going to live 100 years, then he's going to die. That ain't what God did. What's wrong? Elder Ramos, I'm not yelling at you. God didn't design us to die. He designed us to live. So every day we live, we're getting closer to the design and fulfilling the eternal purposes of God. And boom, shakalaka goes right there. So the older you get, the better you get. The older you get, the better you get. You don't become, at 17 years old, you don't become the fullness of who you are. You don't even know who you are at 17. Of course, a lot of people think they've arrived. The young people at 17, 18, 19, oh my God, you can't tell them nothing. They don't realize they don't know anything at that age. You don't arrive at 35. You might begin to wake up at 70, but the older you get, the stronger you get. Don't think that, don't listen to the devil's lies. I went to a doctor about, I was just about 49 or 50 years old. And so I've seen people dying at 60 years, right? Most people kicking the bucket. So the doctor told me, he said, what's, he said, don't, the older you, don't mean because you're getting old, you should get sick. That's a new thought for me. That was a brand new thought for me. The older you get, the better you get. And of course, you can cause your mind and your thinking and your spirit to say, well, I'm getting old. I guess I'm going to die. Start planning, die. By the way, I told y'all to plan 5 years of vacation. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Seattle, Washington. I've never been to Seattle, Washington. I think Captain LaFleur has been out there. I think Captain LaFleur has been to Seattle. He beat me on that one. I've never been. I'm going to Seattle. I'm going to Seattle, Washington. That's what I'm going to do. But I told y'all, for a vacation or something, and I'm not going out there to live. I'd have to hang out with Brother Springfield. I won't be hanging out with him. What's that? I'm just kidding you, Brother Springfield. No, I told y'all to plan 5 years of vacation. Stop planning to die and plan to live. Doctor give you a bad diagnosis. Oh, you're just getting older. So, well, I'm getting old. I guess I'm going to die. Why? Well, everybody die when they get old. You weren't designed to die. You were designed to live. When God made you, he made you to live. Now, he cursed you, and that's why people die. But I see most of y'all have been disobedient. You did not tell me what your this year, the year 2023, year 2024, year 2025, year 2026, year 2027, where are you going to vacation in those 5 years? Where are you going to vacation? And I shouldn't let anybody under 70 years of age participate. But you need to plan to live. So in all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will acknowledge you. Or he'll direct your paths. That's what give God complete control of your life. Give him complete control of your life. Give him complete control of your money. Oh, I'm getting ready to lose here. They'll start clicking offline right now. They're getting ready to leave now. They're getting ready to check me out. Because if you give God complete control of your life, you know he's got to have complete control of your money. You know what God says about your money? He says, send that tithe to the Outlaw World Missionary Church. 10% of every dime you got. By the way, there's a fellow out in Arizona named Jim who he sent his tithe the other week. He said, Pastor Man, this is my tithe. And then he said, he owns a company out there in Arizona somewhere. Then he said, Pastor Man, he said, now my company got paid, made some money, and I'll be sending you a check from my company. So he sends his tithe, and then he makes it, his company tithes as well. I said, now this is what I'm talking about. But if you give God complete control of your life, your money. Here's what he says about your money. You got to acknowledge, what does God say about my money? He wants the first fruit offering at the beginning of the year, the first paycheck, the first increase you get. He wants that. And he also wants, after that, for the next 51 weeks, he wants the tithe. You have to acknowledge that. Now you say you ain't going to do it, but you have to acknowledge that's what God says. So when you get older, you ought to be getting better. You ought to be getting better. I know I am. No, I don't plan to get sick. No. And if I do, I don't plan to die. I plan to get healed. And I think I'm going to go out to Seattle, Washington. And it's beautiful. Have you ever been to Seattle? Beautiful out there. Of course, out there in around Oregon. I was in Oregon once, but Portland, they tell me, is an awful place with a lot of gay people out there. Got a lot of gay people in Seattle, too. Anyway, so you don't become fully developed, the first day of in your mother's womb, even though you are a spiritual entity. So your spiritual and physical you must line up with the plan of God. And that's what most people find difficult. So they run in and get a preacher to tell, you don't have to do this. The word of God says it, but you don't have to do it. The Lord knows your heart. So all the churches and all of the places ought to be called, denomination ought to be called the Lord knows your heart. Now, when you hear that, what the person said, I ain't going to do what God said. Or hey, God said I'm supposed to do this. God says I'm supposed to do that. But I ain't going to do it because God knows my heart and he's giving me a pass. I was hanging around some of these denominational churches. I used to hear that all the time. The Lord knows my heart. Now, when you hear somebody say that, what they mean is this. I ain't doing what God said. I don't care what he said. I ain't going to do it. He knows my heart, and I got a pass. Anyway, so I want to take this one step level, then I'm going to let y'all go because I figure, well, I got some other things I got to say and do. But I want to say this to you. So this verse, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 6, you were created to live. And you want to acknowledge that. God, I was created to live. Now you cursed us. Can you remove the curse? I think that Hezekiah is one where God told him he's going to die, and Hezekiah asked God to remove the curse. So he removed it. He caused the curse. He put a stay on the curse for 15 years. Listen to me. Plan to live. I don't care how sick you are. You're supposed to get better as you get older. You are designed by God to get better. In all your ways, acknowledge him. And run it past God. Run it past the Lord. And if you think you can't get clarity on that, if you can get a hold of me, run it past me. And I'll direct your paths. I'll cause you to walk in the path of righteousness. You hear me talk about righteousness all the time. It's a wonderful thing. Well, God shall cause us to walk in the path of righteousness, but you got to acknowledge him. You can't ignore God. But listen, so we're going to take the church to the next level of profits. We're going to increase by 20%. We may even increase our worships, maybe once or twice in the afternoons on Saturday. But this lesson is increase our lesson to increase our percentage by 20%, to acknowledging more of the prophetic power. Now, we got a lot of music in the church. We got a lot of technical power and skills in the church. We just got a lot of talent in the church. It's a very talented place. But we're going to look now at the prophets and the martyrs. And by martyrs, I mean primarily, you have to give up something. You can't step into this space and bring all that baggage and garbage with you. This is not a Sunday go meeting type of church where I'll come in and run in on Sunday, see what's going on, and then I ain't having nothing to do with it, and I want the church to do nothing with me and my business, my family, and where I'm at, and nothing else until I decide to walk back in there. No, this ain't the place. This ain't the place for you. But martyrs who are willing to give up. And, of course, then servants. So I'm not elevating prophets and martyrs and servants in our church. They're already there. But I think acknowledgement of that in some ways, God will give me the utterance to be able to acknowledge it. But there's one other thing I want to make mention of, and I reserve this one because it has sort of a carnal, if you will, meaning to it, and that is to a trustee. The Bible says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, lean not to thine own understanding. And everybody who has been listening to me teach trust in the Lord for at least 7 years, I'm going to anoint you as a trustee. What do you mean by that? Well, let me tell you. If you go to work for an employer, he's the boss man. You become the employee. You work for the boss man. If God is to be trusted, and he is, and if you spent 7 years of listening to me teach, trust in the Lord, In the Trust of the Lord hour, which is now the best hour on planet Earth, if you spent 7 years doing that, then I'm going to make you a trustee. If you go to work for a man, he's the employer. So you are now the trustee. You're one that is glorifying, building, acknowledging, following the orders of God. You are now a trustee. Now you can be a trustee and a prophet. You can be a trustee and a servant. You can be a trustee and a martyr. But I want to reserve that as we now launch forward. And I got to get together with my media team. And we're going to launch the program of the Trust in the Lord hour is the best hour on planet Earth. And then because I've been teaching it these many years, out of it, we're now going to get, if you have a 7 years of experience of staying with this word for 7 years, I'm going to make you a trustee. That means God can trust you, and you trust God. It means God can trust you. God, he doesn't slumber nor sleep. We know that. But if he did, he wouldn't have to worry about you. But before I finish it today, I want to say to you, you have to remember now that you were created to live. You know, the thing I find most amazing in the Bible is that Abraham, you know, he was married to Sarah, right? Fool around there, Abraham's 100 years old, Sarah 90 years old, gave birth to Isaac. I think Sarah lived another 20 years or so, died maybe at 110. Abraham was 120 maybe. I'm not sure of the ages. I'll have to check that out. I'll have to run that past Evangelist Brown. I think she knows. But Sarah died. The Bible says Abraham wept like a little baby. He cried over Sarah, but they told me right after he finished crying, he went and married somebody else. The man's 120 years old. He got married. And Moses did the same thing. So, I mean, here these old men, 120 years old, getting married again. Listen, my pastor Stanley, I said to him, he said to me, he told me this, he said, somebody asked him, how old do you have to be before you stop, having sexual intercourse? So Pastor Stanley said, I don't know. You got to ask somebody older than me. Abraham and Moses, 120 years old, getting married again. Jumping the broom. So plan to live, that's what I'm trying to say to you. And besides, you run this past the Lord, because I don't know you that well, but run this past the Lord. Were you to die, who's God going to use to do what you're doing? Some of y'all are so important to this ministry. I can tell you this right now. Some of y'all are so important to this ministry. I don't know if anybody can fill your shoes right now. And there are a lot of people who give to this ministry. If that stream stopped, we got this woman over there in London. I don't know if she's in London or Brighton or where, named Millie. That woman gives up a tree to this ministry. If that stopped coming in, we would feel it. Somebody wouldn't be getting a paycheck. So you need to look at yourself and say, well, if I die, who's going to do what I'm doing for the ministry? Who's going to teach the children? You see what I'm saying? So in all your ways, acknowledge him. And if you're 90 years old, you want to get married again, come talk to me. All right, listen. The Bethelite Marketplace, I'm going to ask the engineer to bring up the picture of Captain David Lewis' wife. Her name is Princess. And there she is. So that's out in our courtyard, right? That's his wife. That's Captain Lewis' wife. She bought that bag and the necklace and brooch, that outfit from the Bethelite Marketplace. that Captain David Lewis said that he don't have to go downtown shopping now. His wife can shop at the Bethlehem Marketplace. We had a beautiful white coat, but I understand that this thing was beautiful. Sabbath said she sold it yesterday. This thing, that was one beautiful white wool coat. And Sister Humphrey, if you're listening to me, Sister McMillan, pardon me, if you're listening to that beautiful, you know you sent us that beautiful white coat. You got any more coats like that? Sister McMillan? I'll talk to you, but that was a beautiful white coat. Anyway, Mr. Engineer, let the people know about the Bethlehem Marketplace. Wait a minute. I told you Brother Honaker had a song, right? You're going to be surprised at this. This is going to be our first full view of Brother Honaker. All we've been seeing was a picture of him with a cap on. Now you're going to see him with the outlaw cap on. Now he lives down there in Louisiana. It's hot down there. So I sent him a leather cap, so it's hard for him to wear it down there in that hot weather down there. But he wrote a song the other day. The other thing, the man is left-handed. He plays a left-handed guitar. Sister Guzman, Brother Guzman, Sister Guzman, check this out. The man is left-handed playing a left-handed guitar, and y'all gonna get your first full. I've known Brother Honaker for several years. We've never seen anything like this, but here he is. Let it rip. Then I'm coming back to the Bethlehem Marketplace. Don't go nowhere. I'll be right back, all right? Let's listen to Brother Honaker. Let's see Brother Honaker with the outlaw cap on.
I walk alone. What's the world got to offer me? I walk alone. Some things I don't want to see. I walk alone. People blind, they can't see. I walk alone. Come and go with me. I walk alone. I'm a long way from my home. I walk alone. People laugh at me. I walk alone. What's the world got to offer me? I walk alone. I walk alone. I walk alone. I walk alone.
That's the first time we've had a real full bust shot of Brother. Left-handed too, by the way. Ain't that nothing? With the outlaw cap on. Anyway, it's you really need to, and we're going to put more items up on the Bethlehem Marketplace. Don't go anywhere, Miss Engineer. Everybody, I'll be right back. Miss Engineer, let them know about the Bethlehem Marketplace. Can we bring them that? I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Well, if you have funds to give Christmas gift, go to the Bethlehem Marketplace and do some shopping there at the Bethlehem Marketplace and give people gifts from that very, very exclusive website that we have where you can give people some really, really classy antiques and gifts and stuff that just have a lot of meaning to it rather than buying somebody a sweater or a pair of socks, or an umbrella or giving them a whatever it is, give them one of these very special gifts we have at the Bethlehem Marketplace, right? And the other thing is that we have a lot of china, a lot of tea sets and a lot of beautiful pewter and bowls and glasses and just a lot of beautiful stuff, antiques. And you should buy something just to decorate. Look at those spoons and those pewters. You know, you could buy that collection of pewter cups, you know, or that coffee place, or those spoons, and for Thanksgiving, and really bring the people over rather than drinking out those glasses you've been drinking out, or those mayonnaise jars. Y'all don't know what I'm talking. People don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but imagine setting your Thanksgiving table with those beautiful pewter and that beautiful silverware there, right? And it'll just be a beautiful thing. Oh, this is really nice. And we have beautiful platters and a lot of beautiful decorative bowls. Go to the Bethelite Marketplace. Go to the Bethelite Marketplace for your shopping for Thanksgiving, for your dinner table, and for Christmas. Do that. And not only will you be a blessing by giving somebody something that's really meaningful, that will be around for a while. You give somebody a sweater or a pair of socks, they wear it once, and they'll take it back to the store and change it and get the money, and you won't even know that's what they did. But this is something that can be in family heirloom. You follow? Don't discount the Bethelite Marketplace. Go ahead now and do some shopping there, and have a beautiful Thanksgiving. Do some shopping, and now some of those stuff has already been sold, but you'll find out, and you'll have give somebody a beautiful gift, some beautiful jewelry. By the way, look for those women who are on our mailing list outside of New York City and New Jersey. You're going to get, in about a week or so, 2 weeks, you're going to get a beautiful necklace called the Mercy and Truth necklace. But my friends, use the Bethelite Marketplace. That beautiful pewter set of cups will be a great place. You put a little wine in it, put some, iced tea or something in it, you know. Oh, I say you don't drink wine. Okay, all right, okay. Well, Jesus did. Anyway, so this is just some beautiful stuff to make your Thanksgiving dinner, and surely do your Christmas shopping. You'll catch two birds with one net. One is that you'll have a priceless gift that will last for hundreds of years, and you'll also help us fight the foreclosure that is beaming down on us every day as they're trying to take our building. Look at all that beautiful jewelry. That is some really beautiful stuff, really beautiful stones, and some great artwork to that. Use the Bethelite Marketplace. Go to our website, click into the Bethelite Marketplace, and you'll be there. All right.
Hi, come in. Since the pandemic, I haven't had any house guests, so I decided to invite a couple of friends over. And guess what? They love the way I've redecorated. What's my secret? Bethelite Marketplace. They have wonderful items such as wall decor and fine china. So if you want to be the talk of the town, go to Bethelite Marketplace. And hurry. Come to Bethelite Marketplace, the one-stop shopping dream.
All right, stay tuned, everybody, because I'm coming up with the Manning Report in just a few moments. But I'm going to let Brother Honecker take us at the top of the hour.
I walk alone. I walk alone. What's the world got to offer me? I walk alone. Some things I don't want to see. I walk alone. People blind, they can't see. I walk alone. Come and go with me. I walk alone. I'm a long way from my home. I walk alone.
Lord's servant. I'm asking now is to give truth a chance. All I've ever told anybody is the truth. Now, just because you didn't understand it doesn't mean it's not true. And I'm asking people to give truth a chance.
All around, you hear the lies being told from the top. Every time you turn around, it just don't seem to stop. When you're ready to move far beyond that same old dance, all you gotta do is listen, yeah, and give truth a chance.
Give truth a chance.
Everybody,
Give truth a chance.
come on and sing it.
Give truth a chance. Give truth a chance.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out, righteousness. Welcome, everybody, to the Manning Report. I am Manning, in the event that you don't know that, the quintessential American, and I am that too, broadcasting from my studio located in our church building, and our church building is located in the community formerly known as Harlem. Pardon me. But God Almighty has changed the name of this community to Outlaw. That's what God said, the land where the people shall walk barefoot, because the land is holy ground. How is everybody doing? Today's election day all over America, every which kind of way. My goodness, I'll be so glad when this election is over. I don't know what to do. I don't think Sister Kane is going to be able to report the weather today, or Brother Miller either. There's so much going on with the election of 2022. You know, between the Senate race in Georgia, between Warnock and Walker, and the Senate race in Pennsylvania between Fetterman and Oz, nearly $400 million has been spent on television ads and campaign funding. Nearly $1/3 billion just on those two Senate races. And they got Senate races in Nevada, Arizona, New Hampshire, North Carolina, that everybody's keeping an eye on, plus gubernatorial races in Nevada and also in Arizona. And so a lot of money. For a man, the senator, $1/3 billion is going to be spent, has been spent so far on these two senatorial races rather. And the senator, when he gets to Washington, will only make $175,000 a year. Now, that's a lot of money, but compared to the fact he's going to buy the job with millions upon millions of dollars, nearly $200 million is what he's going to pay to buy the job. Then when he gets there, he only gets $175 million a year, but he gets a whole lot of other perks, think that you'll never, that's equal to that. But that's the par for the course. That's how it is. That's the American Democratic program. I want to raise a question here today, and the question is: will Donald John Tribulation Trump announce and actually run to be the president of the United States of America? But wait a minute, there's more. I'm not through. And if he does, will Hillary Rodham Clinton be the opposing running person for the Democrat Party? And I believe yes. You never know. I'm not absolutely positive, but I believe that I believe that Trump is going to run, and there are a large number of reasons. Well, let me just back up. I'm asking the question: will Hillary be there? Because I don't want to lead you. Will she be the running person that runs for the Democratic Party? And right now, the Democratic Party does not have a deep bench, and Joe Biden is through. He is through. I don't even know if Joe Biden's going to make it to the end of his own term. But let's understand here, I'm doing all of this in a carnal setting, with a carnal understanding, with this kingdom of this world understanding. I am not doing it in a spiritual tone. because the spiritual tone will lead me back to the prophecy that Donald John Tribulation Trump is the servant of Satan. Now, I'm a pastor, I'm a theologian, I'm 40 years pastor, I'm a graduate of a seminary with a master's degree. And I can teach the Bible about heaven and hell, about Satan and about Jesus. And God said that Trump is the trigger of the tribulation. Now, I want you to pause on and think about that for just a second, because when you look out and they try to figure out, people are trying to scratch in their heads and trying to figure out, why is it that Mitch McConnell won't say something? Because he knows that Trump is who he is. Why is it that Lindsey Graham stood on the floor the day of the insurrection and said, that's it, I've had it with Trump, that's enough? Lindsey Graham used to be the hangout partner of Senator John McCain, who everybody thought was a pretty stand-up guy. He and Lindsey were tighter than two peas in a pod. He does a flip, I'm a 180-degree flip, and starts hanging out with Donald Trump. Who can explain it? And I mean, Donald Trump was out there with J.D. Vance last night out there in Ohio. And the last time he was out there with J.D. Vance, Donald Trump said that J.D. Vance is kissing his ass. Ass is in the Bible, by the way, and I want to be, if you will, theologically and literally clear here, just to get his endorsement. He said that in front of J.D. Vance and all of his people, and yet J.D. Vance is still sucking up to him. You know, Kevin McCarthy said that's it. Trump was the reason for the insurrection, and it ought to be made accountable. 2 days later, flew down to Mar-a-Lago, kissed Trump's ring and probably something else, and came on back. So you figure that only someone who has the power. Abraham Lincoln didn't have that much power over the Union forces or the Confederacy in his presidency. Ronald Reagan never had that kind of power. Never, over a group of people who will not utter a mumbling word, though in their hearts and in the truth, they know that Trump is a con man, a snake from way back when. But he's got power that all of them are shaking in their boots. Mitch McConnell shaking in his boots. Kevin McCarthy shaking in his boots. All of them shaking in their boots. And whatever he says, everybody bows down to the man with the power of the tribulation. He's the trigger of the tribulation. We all know that. That's the biblical part. That's the spiritual. That's what God said. That's what God said. But there's more than that. You have to understand that God said that Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama, is the son of Satan. Trump is the trigger of the tribulation and the servant of Satan. Now, listen to me very carefully. You don't have to listen to me anymore. Maybe you're boiling now because of the things I've said, the truth I've told about Trump. But let me tell you the truth about Obama, then you can make your exit if you so desire to do that. Obama is the son of Satan. That is right. And as a result of Obama being the son of Satan and Trump being the servant of Satan, God has put together what I consider perhaps one of the most profound, given to me one of the most profound revelations in the history of prophecy. And that is the greatest prophecy of Jesus is the prophecy of the tribulation and return of the Lord Jesus Christ. In Matthew's Gospel, chapter 24, verse 7, Jesus said, nation shall rise against nation and kingdom shall rise against kingdom. But what Jesus has done, he has been able, through his power, to cause a house divided. He's called Satan to fight Satan. I don't know if there's any other prophecy. First of all, there is no greater prophecy, I don't think, greater than the prophecy of the tribulation spoken by Jesus himself. But what God has revealed through your humble servant is that he has put together the power to make Satan fight Satan, a house divided. He's got the servant of Satan and the son of Satan fighting one another. It's brilliant. Well, I used that term brilliant last time we were together. This prophecy of nation against nation, Obama against Trump, and that's what's going on in our world and will continue to go on for quite some time. So from the spiritual, prophetic point of view, Obama of course, is the son of Satan. But and what he has done, while Trump has made little girls with panties out of men that used to be men in the Republican Party, I don't care who they are. He made little girls out of all of them. People who used to think that when Trump was running around up here in New York as a real estate tycoon and flying around in his helicopter, all them MAGA people down there in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Ohio, thought Trump was the lowest piece of trash that New York could produce. They wouldn't spit on him, but now they worship him. Go figure. Go figure. But what Obama has done, Obama has been the author and the father of programs and despicable anti-God, anti-human programs such as woke, that idea that's passing through our schools, through our education system. He's also the father of CRT, or critical race theory, which is another attempt to try to find freedom and truth for Hamite people. They ain't gonna find. He's the father, surrogate father of Black Lives Matter, and he is indeed the true father of LGBTQ+. Now, all of that mess, all that belongs on Obama's table. The other stuff I just talked about belongs on Trump's table. So you got the servant of Satan and the son of Satan, and they are now, God has put together the power to make them fight themselves. And even though I've said this, they can't hear me. They can't hear me. They can't hear me. I could walk up to if the two of them were standing right there, aside one another, one of them the son of Satan, the long-legged Mac Daddy, the other the servant of Satan, the tribulation Trump. I could walk up to them and say, hey, Obama, hey, you know you're the son of Satan, and did you know that Jesus has prophesied 2,000 years ago that he will put a spell on you, a curse on you, make you fight the servant of Satan. Satan's great powers in the earth will fight a house divided against itself. I say that to both Obama and Trump. And they would look at me like, what did he say? Did he want to order pistachio ice cream? Or he want a Milky Way candy bar? Maybe he want a Snickers, or maybe want some popcorn. They can't hear me. They can't hear me. Hey, they have ears, but they can't hear. But it gets worse. Yeah, there's more. There's more, and it gets worse. Yeah. The people that follow these two creatures of Satan, they can't hear me. Now, for all you algorithm people, all you people on Facebook, everywhere else, and all you other, I'm speaking as a preacher. I have the freedom of speech. I have the freedom of religion. I have the freedom as a preacher to preach the power of the prophecy of the Lord Jesus Christ. So don't be trying to block me or whatever, you strike me or because of what I'm saying about these two that have come into the earth as servant and son of Satan. And now God in his power prophesied in Matthew's Gospel chapter 24 verse 7 that an evil nation would be against another evil nation. A house divided against itself, and it shall fall. God's program. And you know, the other thing is that beyond that, the people that follow these people, they can't hear me either. The ones that vote for these people, they can't hear me either. They can't hear me. They can't hear. No, they can't. The voters, the supporters, the promoters, the followers of these two servants and sons of Satan, they can't hear me. It is hidden from them. Jesus said in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 13, verse 15 or so or thereabouts, it is not given to them to know the power of the kingdom of God. Mr. Engineer, pull that up for me. I'll take a wait on it. It is not given to them to know. The voters today, voting on while neither one of these births of Satan are on the ballot today, Their surrogates are on the ballot. Their programs are on the ballot. And those who are supporting it and worshiping it, they can't hear me. They can't, no matter whether it's Trump or Obama, they can't hear me. So we need to be clear. We need to be clear. So the question I raised a few moments ago, will Trump run? Now, he was out there in Ohio last night with J.D. Vance. Oh, J.D. Vance looked like a little puppy, scared to say anything. Trump talked for an hour, 45 minutes, and didn't talk at all about J.D. Vance. It's supposed to be J.D. Vance rally. No, that boy Trump, he is the trigger of the tribulation. But here, Mr. Engineer, could you find it at Matthew 13? If you can't, that's fine. We'll pick it up another time. We'll get it. I'll have Captain David Lewis install it. We're good. But here, so from a political point of view, that's what's going on. Now, from a spiritual and a prophetic point of view, we have the prophecy that I have been espousing. Okay, I think you've got it. Is that right? Bring it up. They can't hear me. They can't hear me. Jesus answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given of the prophecy. And I think in verse 15 it says that they have ears, but they can't hear. They have eyes, but they cannot see. They can't hear me. They can't hear me. Neither the son of Satan, nor his followers, nor the servant of Satan, nor his followers. They can't hear me. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes and hear with their hearts and should understand with their heart and should be converted, and I should heal them. They got ears, but they cannot hear. They got eyes as they go to the voting polls today, but they cannot see. So now, and I want to just further state, going back from a political, not a prophetic or spiritual point of view, that what we see now is driven by the power of God. I told y'all several months ago, don't take sides. Don't choose Democrats or Republicans. They're all the same. They just have a different brand of evil. They're no different. They have a different brand of evil. Now, I know many of y'all, some people write to me and say, well, Pastor Banner, if we don't choose them, who can we choose? Choose Jesus. Choose the Lord. Choose Jesus, and he'll work it out. This may be Satan's kingdom, but the tribulation and prophecy, God's got the son and servant of Satan fighting one another. That's power. Now that's power. That is power. So I think that I raised a question. I'm going to come back to it in just a moment. Will Trump run, and how soon before he makes the announcement? But I'm going to take a break, and I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I ain't through with you. I got more to say on this election day. I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. But I want to say this, and though I have used a humorous spirit here today, I'm very serious. And everything I've said to you is the absolute truth. It's a truth that you've not heard. And it's a truth that is very risky for me to say, very risky. But I thought that you were worth knowing this. And so I said it anyway. The man called me the other day and told me there's a target on my back, that they're going to get me. Either they're going to hit me with so many lawsuits that I won't have money to afford the lawyers, or they're going to get a doctor to inject me with something and cause me to be mentally unstable, try to take away my dignity. What he did say is that they're not going to put me in jail. I thought that was interesting, that doesn't profit them anything. And if they did, I'd turn the jails out. I'd turn the jails into churches if that's what they did, the prisons. But he said there's a target on my back and that they don't like the fact that I preach the Bible, in the Old Testament in particular. I'll say this, and I pray that everyone will understand my heart. I don't know if the Shemites are concerned that I'm telling the Hamites that they need to read the Old Testament. I don't know that to be true, but I'm raising some hypotheses here today, and I'm going to let y'all go. I've used up my 7 minutes, and I know it, and I thank you for your very generous spirit. But I'm teaching the truth about the Old Testament. And the Shemites have become dominant in world economics because of that Old Testament. That's how come they become so powerful, because of that, not the New Testament, it's that Old Testament that has made them dominant in economics globally, everywhere, even over every type of government, whether it be autocrat, Democrat, a totalitarian, a dictator, don't matter. They got the money. And I'm not saying this in a facetious, anti-Semitic way. I'm a Zionist. By that I mean, I believe Jesus was a Jew. I've been to Israel. And I've kissed the ground. I believe all that land was given to the Jews. I'm a Zionist. I'm not an anti-Semite. No, I'm not. I used to have a lot of Jewish friends. I don't know what happened to them. But I can tell you this. I can tell you this, that the issue here is that I'm teaching Hamite people that they can be just as powerful economically if they'll let me teach them the Old Testament. That's a threat to the Shemite nation. That's a threat to their economic power, because they know if they grab hold of this word of God, Allah and the law, and me as their teacher, they know, the Jewish people know, and I'm not an anti-Semite, I love my Jewish brothers, but they know if I can open up the minds and the woolly heads of the Hamite, that's the black man, and teach them the Old Testament, they're going to have power, money power. And the Japheth too, because I got a lot of Japheth people as members of Allah. I can bring along the Japheth and the Hamites into the power of the Old Testament. You know, the man said they're going to try to take me down. They're going to try to get a doctor to inject me with something, or, you know, call me to be mentally unstable, inject me with 500 cc's of insulin dose so that I become a vegetable. I won't know my name, my address, or what day of the week it is. He said they. You heard him say it. I'm not being anti-Semitic. I'm not being racist, because it ain't about race. It's about the money. In the Old Testament, there's money in the Old Testament. There's money in the Old Testament. There's property, there's land, there's development, there's ownership. In the Old Testament, there's money in that Old Testament. There's money in that Old Testament. God knows there's plenty of money in that Old Testament. There's money in that Sabbath. There's money in that first fruit. There's money in that tithe. There's money in the Old Testament. There's money. There's money. And people running around and talking about, we don't need the Old Testament no more. The Lord going to pray that we prosper and be in health. No. So I don't know that that's what's happening to me. But I want you to digest these things I've said, because they're all true. And I've told them to you so we can learn how to protect ourselves. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.
And as of right now, you are a dangerous man. You've got a master's degree in theology and truth. And it's not to say that they had it all figured out, but you have a master's degree in truth. They want you silent. If they can do it one way, get you diabetes, get you cancer, and get you to die off.
You think they'd try that?
Pardon?
You think they would try injecting me with cancer or diabetes or something of that nature?
Well, that's eventually how they want you to fall off. They don't want to get caught pulling too many bodies out of a certain area at one time. That's why they're setting up the generation gaps, so one generation can't communicate with the other.
You know, the truth of the matter is that Tribulation Trump must run for the presidency, otherwise he goes to jail. And the longer he runs, the longer he'll stay out of jail. And if he wins the presidency, he can stay out of jail in perpetuity. But he must run. If he doesn't run, he's definitely going to go to jail. And I think it's important that we focus on that. I think that what is happening now for Trump to be able to escape. And I believe Merrick Garland is going to indict him. If Merrick Garland does not indict Trump, then we can kiss this whole thing about that the Constitution and the rule of law. We can kiss all that goodbye. So he's going to have to do it. And the attorney generals and the attorneys that serve the office of the Attorney General of America take an oath to serve without fear or favor. He's going to have to do that. But the legal woes that Trump has is his only running for presidency, whether he wins or not, will give him a 2-year lease on life. Because the boy's got so many legal woes, it ain't funny. He's actually got a full-scale rape charge that's being brought against him by Tish James, by a woman who says that she was shopping in this ritzy store on Fifth Avenue called Bergdorf Goodman, and Trump followed her into the dressing room and raped her. I find that hard to believe. I've been to Bergdorf Goodman once, twice maybe, and I find it hard to believe that he could rape her in a dressing room and she didn't holler for help. The Bible says if you don't holler for help, then you can't punish the man. But anyway, that case is going forward here in New York City, along with a libel case where she is suing him for impugning her reputation. That's just one of the cases. Then you got Fannie Willis down there in Atlanta and Fulton County going to bring a charge against him for calling Brad Rassenberger and asking for 11,800 votes, one more than what they have, 800 votes rather. That indictment's going to fall. Lindsey Graham will be indicted in that process as well. And then, of course, you've got the granddaddy of all granddaddies is the indictment come from the Attorney General regarding Trump and the Mar-a-Lago documents that he took from the National Library. And then on a smaller scale, you've got his chief executive officer, Wasselberger, who has been indicted and been convicted and has copped the plea to spend some time in jail for tax evasion. So Trump has got lawsuits up the yin-yang and the wazoo. So the way he can stave these lawsuits is some of them by running. Now, Fannie Willis and probably Merrick Garland's going to have, even while Trump is running as president, they're going to call him in and indict him and charge him, fingerprint him, and then take him to court. That's going to happen. So we're looking at a very tumultuous next 2 years. The other thing is that we have to face in the reality is Joe Biden is a very weak person. Some people get old quick, and Biden is only a couple of years older than Trump, but Trump looks like a young, vibrant person. Biden looks like an old man stumbling around, don't know what to say next, don't know what to do next, don't know where to step. I don't know if Biden is going to be able to make it through. You might see Kamala Harris stepping in as president and Biden resigning, especially after what's going to happen tonight. Tonight is going to, I'm not predicting any kind of a wave or I'm not predicting any kind of a high tide. But whatever happens tonight is going to leave America without a footing. Doesn't matter who or what or how. They're going to be fighting and catcalling and all kind of other things going on. But Biden is very weak. And I think that, he may have led the party to some degree through the pandemic. Well, that's a good thing. But half of the Republicans don't believe in the pandemic. The strange thing that I find when I watch Trump's MAGA crowd, this one really blows your mind. It'll blow your mind too. Most of the people in Trump's crowd, his MAGA people, they don't believe in the coronavirus. They don't believe it. They don't believe it exists. They don't believe it. They won't wear a mask. They won't get an vaccination. They don't believe it. And they'll say you are being hoodwinked for believing it. Then Trump will stand up in a rally and say, when I become president again, I'm going to find out how China was able to bring the coronavirus into America and all the people that died because of China. And we're going to charge them $61 trillion for bringing that coronavirus. Now, the same people, check this out, the same people say they don't believe it in the MAGA camp. Then they start cheering Trump when Trump said he gonna blame the Chinese for starting it. That's the crazy thing. First they don't believe it. Then they say, but when Trump says it happened, well, and by the way, Trump had coronavirus. I swear, you ain't never seen nothing like this before. You ain't never seen nothing like these MAGA people. Well, I don't know. I'll take that back because the Hamites and the Obamaites, they're just as bad. Listen, the MAGA people stand up and say, we don't believe coronavirus. Ain't no coronavirus. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. Then Trump gets coronavirus, right? Remember when he was president, he gets coronavirus. The boy almost died. Kevin McCarthy, that boy was down at the Jordan. They rushed that boy to the hospital in a helicopter over that Walter Reed. In a helicopter? That boy was just about dying. Stayed there for a few days. They got him and shot him with some of that special dope they have just for special people. He got back up again. And so even though Trump had coronavirus, almost died from it, said he had it, and almost died from it, but then this people say, there ain't no such thing coronavirus. You can't make this up. I swear you look and you see, is this for real? Anyway, so Trump is going to have to run. And I think he will. He was out there in Ohio last night. He said he's going to make a big announcement. He ain't done nothing out there. I do declare, if I was J.D. Vance, well, I wouldn't be J.D. Vance. That's the first thing. But he should have resigned right there and said, listen, go ahead, Tim Ryan, you got the Senate. I ain't serving this man. I wouldn't serve this man. But that's nature of politics. So the other thing is that Biden is very weak. And what we refer to in the political talk, the bench, the Democrat bench is very weak. That is to say, people that you can pull up out of the political realm and have them run against Trump is very weak. And Biden running against Trump, he beat him one time. At least that's what they say. But I don't know if Biden can make it to 2024 himself. But the other thing is that, here's I started with this earlier. Biden, they destroyed Andrew Cuomo, who's the governor of New York. Now you got this woman Hochul, who looks like she's getting ready to get her lunch eaten by this guy Lee Zeldin up here in New York. Andrew Cuomo would have been a good. He was getting ripe to run in the 2024 election. They destroyed him, and they let out people like Al Sharpton spit on him. So I don't think he's going to get the nomination from the Democrat Party, but he was one of the strongest they had on the bench. And Jill Biden and Joe Biden have destroyed Camelback Ain't Black Harris. You don't see that woman, no. It actually doesn't even exist anymore. I don't think Jill Biden liked her in the first place. And I think that Jill Biden thought she'd try to get sweet with Joe, but Joe don't like her either. Because remember in the election, she said she's out that little 9-year-old girl that you made bust out of Los Angeles, something like that. And but Jim Clyburn, that boy down there, that gray-haired man down there, why don't he comb his hair, brush his hair? Get Jim Clyburn, somebody buy that man a brush? Brush your hair, man. What's wrong with you? Jim Clyburn. Anyway, he likes Camelback, but I don't think Camelback Harris could mount a campaign against Trump either. So the only person that's left now is Hillary. Wouldn't that be interesting to see them go again? That would be really interesting. I'd love to see that. Boy, I'd be on the air every day. The Man Report, I'd be on there every day reporting on. And I tell you what, to see Hillary go out there, you may have noticed you haven't seen Hillary at any of the campaigns because I think she's reserving herself. I think that I think that I don't see Biden making it to the end of his own term. He's stumbling around. He forgets what he's saying, So, but Trump has no choice. And I think the other thing is that Obama has destroyed the black hope. They could pull somebody that's black. John Lewis is dead, so you can't get him. And who else? Well, they got a few people like Keisha Bottoms, mayor or somebody down there. Keisha Lance Bottoms. What kind of name is that anyway? Bottoms. Where'd you get that? Bottoms. What? Then you got that woman down there in the mayor of Washington named Bauer or something like that. Then you got that boy named Sylvester down there in Houston. But they're lightweights. They're lightweights. They're not ready. They're not ready for the big time. So, Obama, if you say, well, we can run a black president. The problem is that, running a black president is that the black population is shrinking. There are more Hispanic people there's twice as many. If there are 30 million Hamites, I call them black, but they're Hamites. If there are 30 million Hamites in America, there's 60 to 65 to 70 million Latinos, Hispanics. Black people are in big trouble. And here's my prediction. I think that after this election tonight, today is over. Today is the 8th of November. After this thing is over with, I think politicians, both Democrat and Republican, are gonna drop courting black people vote, because I don't think they need it anymore. I don't think black people, are going to be important to the process anymore. I thought I'd say that, and I'm going to take a break, and I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out, righteousness. Well, if you have funds to give Christmas gifts, go to the Bethelite Marketplace and do some shopping there at the Bethelite Marketplace and give people gifts from that very, very exclusive website that we have, where you can give people some really, really classy antiques and gifts and stuff that just have a lot of meaning to it, rather than buying somebody a sweater or a pair of socks, or an umbrella, or giving them whatever it is, give them one of these very special gifts we have at the Bethelite Marketplace, right? And the other thing is that we have a lot of china, a lot of tea sets, and a lot of beautiful pewter and bowls and glasses, and just a lot of beautiful stuff, antiques. And you should buy something just to decorate. Look at those spoons and those pewters. You could buy that collection of pewter cups, or that coffee place, or those spoons, and for Thanksgiving. And really bring the people over, rather than drinking out those glasses you've been drinking out, or those mayonnaise jars. Y'all don't know what I'm talking. People don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but imagine setting your Thanksgiving table with those beautiful pewter and that beautiful silverware there, right? And it'll just be a beautiful thing. Oh, this is really nice. And we have beautiful platters and a lot of beautiful decorative bowls. Go to the Bethelite Marketplace. Go to the Bethelite Marketplace for your shopping for Thanksgiving, for your dinner table, and for Christmas. Do that. And not only will you be a blessing by giving somebody something that's really meaningful, that will be around for a while. You give somebody a sweater or a pair of socks, they wear it once, and they'll take it back to the store and change it and get the money, and you won't even know that's what they did. But this is something that can be in family heirloom. You follow? Don't discount the Bethelite Marketplace. Go ahead now and do some shopping there, and have a beautiful Thanksgiving. Do some shopping, and now some of those stuff has already been sold, but you'll find out. And you'll have give somebody a beautiful gift, some beautiful jewelry. By the way, look for those women who are on our mailing list outside of New York City and New Jersey. You're going to get, in about a week or so, 2 weeks, you're going to get a beautiful necklace called the Mercy and Truth necklace. But my friends, use the Bethelite Marketplace. That beautiful pewter set of cups will be a great place. You put a little wine in it, put some, iced tea or something in it, Oh, I say you don't drink wine. Okay, all right, okay. Well, Jesus did. Anyway, so this is just some beautiful stuff to make your Thanksgiving dinner. And surely do your Christmas shopping. you'll catch two birds with one net. One is that you'll have a priceless gift that will last for hundreds of years, and you'll also help us fight the foreclosure that is beaming down on us every day as they're trying to take our building. Look at all that beautiful jewelry. That is some really beautiful stuff, really beautiful stones and some great artwork to that. Use the Bethelite Marketplace. Go to our website, click into the Bethelite Marketplace, and you'll be there. All right.
Hi, come in. Since the pandemic, I haven't had any house guests, so I decided to invite a couple of friends over. And guess what? They love the way I've redecorated. What's my secret? Bethelite Marketplace. They have wonderful items such as wall decor and fine china. So if you want to be the talk of the town, go to Bethelite Marketplace. And hurry. Come to Bethelite Marketplace, the one-stop shopping dream.
And as of right now, you are a dangerous man. You've got a master's degree in theology and truth. And it's not to say that they had it all figured out, but you have a master's degree in truth. They want you silent. If they can do it one way, get you diabetes, get you cancer, and get you to die off.
You think they'd try that?
Pardon?
You think they would try injecting me with cancer or diabetes or something of that nature?
Well, that's eventually how they want you to fall off. They don't want to get caught pulling too many bodies out of a certain area at one time. That's why they're setting up the generation gaps so one generation can't communicate.
All right, everybody. I think we need to try to understand, at least I'm going to try to help you understand why our nation is at civil war. And we would look to try to discover historically if there's been, if you've been watching the political scene over the past couple of years and going back to January 6th of 2021, you're storming Bunker Hill or the Battle of Concord or the firing on Fort Sumter. We are at civil war. We're a little bit more sophisticated at doing it now than we were in the 1860s. But we most assuredly are. And I think that one of the things that we want to try to look at is to understand why we are at war. And it's basically the same, if you will, groupings of people. One of the things that we're going to look at very carefully historically is that the sons of the Confederacy and the sons of the Union forces make up the same clientele or make up the same armies of the MAGA group and the Black Lives Matter or the Antifa groups and the LGBTQ plus groups. So we can see the dynamics of America, 150 years of America moving past the Civil War and amending the Constitution some 30 times or so, that number may not be correct, since the Civil War, is that it has not effectively changed the nature of the forces of the first Civil War, or at least the community from which and the ideals from which the first Civil War arose. That is to say, that the first Civil War arose mainly with participants or adherents or inhabitants, if you will, of the South. Well, you'll find that most of the people that are part of the MAGA movement or part of the insurrectionist group, if you want to call them that, I call what happened in Washington an assault on the Temple of Democracy. And those that are opposing and those that they are opposed, the Nancy Pelosi's of this world, the Chuck Schumers of this world, if you will, that they are of the same ilk as the Union forces. So we got really same dynamics going on of the North against the South again. And I find that fascinating, don't you? That you would not have a large segment that over 150 years has not done any breeding or inbreeding to change the dynamics of people's political, religious, and spiritual views. they're pretty much the same as what they were 150 years ago or 200 years ago, to go back even further to 1822. So when we consider this historically, we look at it that America really has not grown. And as a result of that, we're going to continue to have these conflicts. And let's say, if we're going to solve this without more bullets flying and people dying, one of the critical things that they're going to have to do is they're going to have to say, well, wait a minute. We see here what Dr. Manning is saying, critically, dynamically, the inhabitants and the adherents of the first Civil War are the sons and daughters of the second Civil War. So something went wrong, or something has gone wrong in terms of our cohesiveness as a nation. We're still as much divided as we were last 150 years ago. And then, of course, the other prophecy I've given regarding, a house divided against itself with the servant of Satan and the son of Satan, a brilliant and genius plan that God put together, Jesus himself, and a prophecy in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 24, verse 7, where nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Well, we have got the kingdoms here in America against one another. So we have to then question the efficacy or whether or not America has failed in bringing a cohesive, homogeneous, if you will, nation of Southerners and Northerners, blacks and whites and others together in a cohesive, if you will, melting pot. It hasn't happened. 150 years has not been the healer of that. 150 years, and that needs to be admitted. So as a result of that, we have got this now oncoming Civil War. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to point out, as I pointed out earlier, that the Democrats, obviously, those are the Northerners, and some of them still live in the South, are following the son of Satan, which is Barack Hussein, the long-legged McDaddy Obama, right? But the thing that's poison about them is that they have this woke theory, which is absolutely demonic in my estimation. They have this critical race theory, which I think is also worse than affirmative action, which always complaining that black folk have always been mistreated, this, that, and the other, and now we got to punish everybody and make everybody aware of it. Critical race theory and woke are basically, two sides of the same satanic coin. And then, the Democrats or the Northerners are about climate change, that the world is heating up, et cetera, et cetera. They got to stop all this carbon monoxide, whatever it is that they say is going on. And then, of course, as you know, they're all racist. Well, both sides are racist. On the other hand, of course, you've got the GOP. You've got their problems with the immigration. They got big problems with that, thinking that perchance that the immigrants, mainly Latinos, would vote with the Democrats and would replace them. And then they got racism within the MAGA. I don't mean racism in a pejorative way or racism in a traditional sense of the way racism, but racism in the sense of a cultural family, a unity racism, not necessarily I'm going to lynch you tonight if I get a chance to do you, or I'm going to rape you tonight if I get a chance to do it. I'm not talking about that kind of racism. And then there's the other thing, is hypocrisy. I think that the Southerners have a great sense of hypocrisy because they've chosen for their leader a Northerner. Figure that out. They've chosen a dyed-in-the-wool, if you will, Democrat, Donald Trump. He's a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat. I don't care what you say. I don't care where he's living at now. That boy is just as much that boy is more Democrat than Chuck Schumer. I can tell you that right now. Now, he's a good actor. Donald Trump is playing a role. But everybody knows, well, I shouldn't say Democrat. He's a liberal. Donald Trump ain't no conservative. Talking about 2 Corinthians. The boy is a liberal. So the hypocrisy of the MAGA Southern people is just, it explodes, makes your mind explode. And they know he's a liberal. in addition to being a liar. Which, so I try to point out the stink pots of both of these groups, because both of these groups stink to high heaven. But Trump is a liberal. He just found a niche, and he's been playing a role. He's on a stage, and he loves to act. So that's where we are. Now listen, don't go anywhere. I'm coming right back. And Brother Holdnaker's got to drop the tune. Y'all want to hear what Brother Holdnaker had to say? You want to see this is really interesting. I'm gonna let you listen to Brother Holdnaker, and I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'm coming right back on this election day.
I walk alone. I walk alone. What's the world got to offer me? I walk alone. Some things I don't want to see. I walk alone. People blind, they can't see. I walk alone. Come and go with me. I walk alone. I'm a long way from my home. I walk alone. People laugh at me. I walk alone. What's the world got to offer me? I walk alone. I walk alone. I walk alone. I walk alone.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. But I want to say this, and though I have used a humorous spirit here today, I'm very serious. And everything I've said to you is the absolute truth. It's a truth that you've not heard. And it's a truth that is very risky for me to say, very risky. But I thought that you were worth knowing this. And so I said it anyway. The man called me the other day and told me there's a target on my back, that they're going to get me. Either they're going to hit me with so many lawsuits that I won't have money to afford the lawyers, or they're going to get a doctor to inject me with something and cause me to be mentally unstable, try to take away my dignity. What he did say is that they're not going to put me in jail. I thought that was interesting, that doesn't profit them anything. And if they did, I'd turn the jails out. I'd turn the jails into churches if that's what they did, the prisons. But he said there's a target on my back and that they don't like the fact that I preach the Bible, in the Old Testament in particular. I'll say this, and I pray that everyone will understand my heart. I don't know if the Shemites are concerned that I'm telling the Hamites that they need to read the Old Testament. I don't know that to be true, but I'm raising some hypotheses here today, and I'm going to let y'all go. I've used up my 7 minutes, and I know it, and I thank you for your very generous spirit. But I'm teaching the truth about the Old Testament. And the Shemites have become dominant in world economics because of that Old Testament. That's how come they become so powerful, because of that, not the New Testament, it's that Old Testament that has made them dominant in economics, globally, everywhere, even over every type of government, whether it be autocrat, Democrat, a totalitarian, a dictator, don't matter. They got the money. And I'm not saying this in a facetious, anti-Semitic way. I'm a Zionist. By that I mean, I believe Jesus was a Jew. I've been to Israel. And I've kissed the ground. I believe all that land was given to the Jews. I'm a Zionist. I'm not an anti-Semite. No, I'm not. I used to have a lot of Jewish friends. I don't know what happened to them. But I can tell you this. I can tell you this, that the issue here is that I'm teaching Hamite people that they can be just as powerful economically if they'll let me teach them the Old Testament. That's a threat to the Shemite nation. That's a threat to their economic power, because they know if they grab hold of this word of God, Allah and the law, and me as their teacher, they know, the Jewish people know, and I'm not an anti-Semite, I love my Jewish brothers, but they know if I can open up the minds and the woolly heads of the Hamite, that's the black man, and teach them the Old Testament, they're going to have power, money power. And the Japheth too, because I got a lot of Japheth people as members of Allah. I can bring along the Japheth and the Hamites into the power of the Old Testament. You know, the man said they're going to try to take me down. They're going to try to get a doctor to inject me with something, or, you know, call me to be mentally unstable, inject me with 500 cc's of insulin dose so that I become a vegetable. I won't know my name, my address, or what day of the week it is. He said, they. You heard him say it. I'm not being anti-Semitic. I'm not being racist, because it ain't about race. It's about the money. In the Old Testament, there's money in the Old Testament. There's money in the Old Testament. There's property, there's land, there's development, there's ownership. In the Old Testament, there's money in that Old Testament. There's money in that Old Testament. God knows there's plenty of money in that Old Testament. There's money in that Sabbath. There's money in that first fruit. There's money in that tithe. There's money in the Old Testament. There's money. There's money. And people running around and talking about, we don't need the Old Testament no more. The Lord going to pray that we prosper and be in health. No. So I don't know that that's what's happening to me. But I want you to digest these things I've said, because they're all true. And I've told them to you so we can learn how to protect ourselves. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's. My friends, I'm holding here a beautiful illustration of the historical, the present and past legacy and history of the greatest school in America, the Outlaw High School and the Great Tomorrow's Elementary School. And this is just a beautiful piece of work with so many different descriptions and of the teaching, of the staff, of the growth of the students, but it's done in a caricature way. As you can see, a picture of me there drawn sort of in a way that gives a sense of freedom of what young children would do in terms of their gifts and their talents. And I have several of these that was designed by Bathsheba Sherman and completed and authored by her as well. And I want to offer this to anyone who gives a gift of $27 or more to the school. You know, we're in the foreclosure procedure, and I've talked to you about that, of how you can give land or houses or jewelry or cash or checks to help us stave off the foreclosure. I've not talked a lot about it, but you know that we need the funding. But this will be a beautiful exchange gift. For a mere $27, we're going to send you, and this is a hard copy of a beautiful, very powerful book. I'm going to be talking about this over the next few days, and I'll be showing you the various work and artwork and students' lessons that are in this particular book. So hang tight for that, everybody. I'm James David Manning. I'm the Lord's servant. We need your prayers and your financial help. I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out, righteousness. Well, if you have funds to give Christmas gift, go to the Bethelite Marketplace and do some shopping there at the Bethelite Marketplace and give people gifts from that very, very exclusive website that we have, where you can give people some really, really classy antiques and gifts and stuff that just have a lot of meaning to it, rather than buying somebody a sweater or a pair of socks, you know, or an umbrella, or giving them a whatever it is, give them one of these very special gifts